Must be nice having these other NFL teams just drop by for joint practices this year.
Yeah, right. I mean, it actually got me out to practice today. I was joking with some of the guys out there. I thought, boy, I kind of like this working from home business. I have to leave the house, but it was good to see some football today, and things got a little chippy at one point today.
Well, certainly ask you about the Bills. Being in Chicago yourself, Eric, I wonder what you think of the Bears vibes. I've mentioned this a couple of times this week, once to a Chicago reporter, Chris Emma, just how the people in my life who follow and like the Bears are very rigid about them. I don't know who they could have brought in to have them sound optimistic. I think they're open to it working out, but they really have to be shown. Is that the sense you get around Chicago, and is that even your sense?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm kind of an outsider here. I've been in Chicago a long time. I'm not necessarily a Bears fan, but obviously seeing them up close, it gives me a little bit of a different perspective maybe. But, yeah, I mean, I think they're – they were once sold on Mark Trestman. They were once sold on Matt Nagy. They were sold on all these other coaches along the way, Matt Eberflus, and as kind of the young ascending coordinator ready to take on head coaching duties. And so there's definitely optimism given what the Lions have done the last 2.5 seasons. And, it took Ben about 8 or 9 games as play caller to kind of figure things out. I wonder if there won't be another period like that. I mean, they could start 0-2. They've got Minnesota at home Monday night, and then at Detroit, the reunion for Ben in week 2. And 0-2 in the division to start the year would be really tough coming off last season. I think would deflate some people, but they're passionate. They're right up there with some of the fan bases that care the most. But man, they're hurting a little bit right now in terms of just what's happened recently.
What do you think, Eric, of how Johnson is being portrayed, at least from where I'm viewing it from? Most of what I hear about is him reacting pretty aggressively when mistakes are made, whether it's the complicated play calls in the huddle or formational mistakes, whatever, that he's really getting after guys. And I'll bet fans generally are welcoming that and think all the guys need, toughen them up and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
It's 2025. How do you think that's going to go over?
Well, he's definitely demanding and he's definitely exacting. And, from my vantage point today, it was hard to see him and I wasn't exactly watching Ben's, sideline gesticulations or whatever. But, yeah, based on the reports that we've heard so far, that's been accurate, getting on Luther Burden for not knowing the plays and kicking him out of practice and, having to separate guys. Yesterday they did a fun drill and had the Joe Tooney, offensive guard, take on a defensive player, I forget who it was, in a receiving drill. So they've definitely lightened things up. And I've gotten the sense that, for as much, pushing as he's doing, he's also getting through to some guys. And you've seen the response. And they came out fired up today. Tell you what, I mean, they were getting on some of Josh's passes, batting them down, intercepting them. I mean, early on, I would say the Bears won the day, and then things tilted back the other way as time went on.
With Eric Edholm, he was there for Bills-Bears today, and you've already mentioned that it got a little chippy, I think might have been your word, and you tweeted that. What do you think of, feel free to elaborate on that, by the way, what do you think of these joint practices? They almost seem more competitive than the preseason games.
Oh, absolutely. Now they do. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I sort of caught on to this years ago when I went to my first joint practice and I was like, first of all, this is way better than just watching one team, right? And, you can sort of pick and choose what you want. You want to watch Josh against the Bears defense, you do that. You want to watch Caleb Williams against the Bills? Okay, let's see that. So you kind of – and the beautiful thing today, they really timed it up well. So it would be like one play on one field would happen, then the next play. So you really could get – a pretty good vantage point. So from a viewing perspective, it's great. The players, they're all tired of hitting each other, of course, and now they're going to lay it out on somebody else. And, yeah, I think you're right. Something about playing in the middle of the day. It was hot today. It was over 90. Going up against an unfamiliar foe, not somebody you see in the locker room every day, especially a team, you're not going to play every year like this. When you put those teams together, sometimes sparks will fly. And, Yeah, there was about a half hour, 30, 40 minutes there where multiple incidents, and it seemed like every play had a flag or pushing or shoving or something.
Yeah, I've never thought to ask anyone who would know and have a say in it, but I would assume teams, unlike in the preseason, like if the Bears starters are going to play on Sunday night, we don't know about, well, Josh Allen yet. I don't think he's going to play, but some other starters may. But, what do you always hear about preseason game plans on both sides of the ball? Well, we're not really doing our stuff. We're just,
Right.
I would think if you're practicing your stuff. So, that's more time on task that I think could be helpful in a more controlled environment than a game would be, but yet there is another team there. So, yeah, I could see a scenario. I think teams, the Bills, maybe one of them with Josh Allen, are treating this as the opportunity to get him reps and not bother with the preseason games.
No doubt. And you can see, I know seems like a funny analogy, but there's a reason why these NFL teams are so paranoid about fans recording practice, especially a joint practice, but on their phones. And you see a zillion signs up when you go to camp. And I'm reminded, because I haven't been to practice in a couple of years now, but, you see it every 14 feet, do not record stuff, whatever. The reason is because they're putting it out there then, right? They're not doing it when it's on TV. I think I agree with your assessment there. And so, yeah, I mean, is it structured in terms of okay, we're doing 2-minute now we're doing red zone, now we're doing this? And yes, but at the same time, you get all those different looks and you can run your full battery of plays on both sides of the ball and feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Eric Edholm, NFL.com, our guest. Eric, what is your sense of the Bills here? I'll say it, you couldn't really blame them for being bored, whether it's just at their own practices or in general, because it's very tempting out here, and maybe it's an effort that gets made internally to not just sort of want to skip ahead to January. They've won the division 5 years in a row. They're a big favorite to do so again. And the whole story is, can they win then? So it might be, I don't want to say too much about this, but it's a certain kind of challenge, isn't it?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you said, they're getting a free pass to January. You still got to go through it. Maybe the Patriots are better this year. Maybe the Dolphins have a last gasp in them. Maybe the Jets are a tricky team to face with the run game and Aaron Glenn coming in. But like you said, they're the favorites for a good reason and probably will at some point eventually pull away and maybe coast to a division title. It really determines, what we decide about them down the road, whether this is ever a team that fulfills its potential is based on, how they play and how they play on the road, how they face up against these AFC heavyweights. Who's in the mix this year, too? I mean, that's the other factor is Cincinnati could rejoin that party, and that's a real interesting matchup for Buffalo. So, again, we assume it's kind of the usual faces, the Baltimores and the Kansas Cities and whatnot, but I wonder if, there aren't other teams in the AFC that can claim a seat at that big boy table. But you look at the schedule this year, some challenging home games for sure, but
they're all at home.
I mean, that's it. The road schedule looks I never use the word easy in the NFL, but it looks tasty.
Yes.
It's nice.
Right.
I like their chances. If they're better defensively, I think they're a fascinating team again.
Yeah, well, a lot of the focus this offseason was on defense and even on defensive line. I mean, you got draft picks in the second and the fourth round at defensive tackle, an edge player in the third round, so and a corner, as well in the first round. So I mean, they went hard at it here, and. I'm just curious what you think of them and free agency, too. Joey Bosa is here. Michael Hoyt is here. He's going to miss the first 6 games along with Larry Ogunjobi because of a suspension. But they really did flush it out and bring back a very new-looking group.
Right. And again, just sort of piggybacking off the idea of January being when it's going to matter. I mean, the beautiful thing is you don't have to start these guys right away. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Maxwell Harrison being out and – are you going to throw him out there even if Trey White's not at, peak form or whatever? Probably not, right? You certainly want to work him in the way the Lions did with Terry and Arnold or something like that, where you're not going to just throw him into the fire immediately and be smart with him. And, maybe TJ Sanders is, the future there. But I'm sure they're going to continue giving him first-team looks and all that, but he'll be in the rotation more likely, and we'll see where he is come the end of the season. So same thing with the two veterans with the suspensions. Probably not didn't work out perfectly at the time of the signing, but again, if you are able to squeeze the most possible out of, Rousseau and Bosa and everybody else for the first 6 games, now these guys come on and help. So, that's really where the time allows you to kind of flesh some things out on that side of the ball.
Eric, do you have a particular opinion about what happened with James Cook here? I mean, Bulldog and I have been sitting here for 6 months talking about him like almost literally every day, thinking that there could be a holdout, and then there wasn't, and there kind of was, and then he got a pretty good deal, which, in the end maybe isn't all that surprising. The Bills have had very few of these sort of conflicts in recent years. Yeah. Do you think they did all right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think wasn't he kind of looking for 15 per year? I mean, wasn't the number he was hoping for higher? I think the Bills did all right. If you, on the same measure, there's only, I think, a handful of running backs, maybe 2 or 3, who have more total guaranteed money currently, and not counting what guys have already been paid. So I think it's easy to say this, but I think it's probably a pretty win-win type situation. He's got to produce. He's got to continue taking steps forward. Obviously, the touchdowns were great last year, and you saw the full package of his game on display. But I still think there's more room for him to expand. So yeah, I mean, with the running back position starting to get a little bit of love now, that contract, I don't think will look bad. Unless there's some rash of injuries that come up or anything like that, but. Yeah, I just seemed like the communication was, I'm not going to say too much, but it just seemed like the Bills were trying, and they weren't always maybe getting a response on the other end. That's my read of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about the rest of the skill players? You were there, like you said today. We seemed online here, just following along and even talking to our Sal Capaccio, who's on the beat for our station there, that Keon Coleman maybe had a bit of a day. He
did, yeah. He had one double move that was fantastic and just reached out and plucked the ball, and it was a great play. It was really when the Bills had started getting some rhythm. I apparently Palmer had a touchdown today. I didn't see it, so I can't comment on that. He's always one of those players for me that I really like. Good-looking player, right? I mean, he just looks the part and moves very well. He's a little bit quiet, like he goes stretches without making much noise, but then all of a sudden he'll strike and make a big play. So I don't know that he's a volume guy. And again, with Shakir not out there, I should say, you're not seeing the full picture, but it feels like they're doing everything they can to sort of display what Keon can do. And I thought he was great, especially in red zone, but man, I mean, just sort of picked it up as time went on. I think he had one drop or one pass that he couldn't pull in early, and then all of a sudden the Jets were off. So he was great. Kincaid was a little quiet. He had a drop early on and then kind of came on with a couple plays. Cook showed some bursts on some runs. I'm trying to think. Johnson had one as well. It was quiet for Shavers. I didn't see much out of him today. And again, I'm just kind of rolling through my Rolodex here of names. But I thought they looked okay.
That's what it is like now. Since post Diggs and even Davis, Eric. Yeah. We need the rosters when it comes to.
But it's not bad though. I think once this group comes together, I don't know what they plan for Curtis Samuel or if he's in the picture or not, but. I mean, I've always liked Keon, and I think last year's inconsistencies, I think, are going to be ironed out.
It's interesting how it's shifted, for like the COVID year or two and this new, young, amazing group of quarterbacks just being able to just breeze their way down the field. And then defenses, I think, overall decided it was worth it to just try to prevent that from happening. Go ahead, lighten the boxes, different things to make it, to force you into more of a running game. And the Bills, pretty smoothly adjusted to that, to the tune last year of 30 rushing touchdowns. Helps when your quarterback contributes about half of them. But that's the trend, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it is for sure. I mean, I heard Bill Belichick talking about this years ago when everybody was playing a 4-3 defense, and he basically said, all right, well, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to play a 3-4. And it just, it always made me think in the back of my head, like, whenever you see these massive trends in one direction, you're going to obviously see some kind of swing back. And last year, teams found ways to be productive running the football, and I think the dual threat quarterback has obviously helped usher that in a little bit too. And just a less stubbornness about what, quote unquote college offenses were and how they'd fit in the NFL. No, they work, right. There's a place for it. So yeah, I'm happy that teams have gotten back to running the football, and it's, whatever you call balance these days. I think we're closing in on that.
It's so funny how resistant the NFL can be or was to that sort of thing. Like,
Sure.
Spread offenses were looked down upon. It's high school offense, and it became the college offense. Oh, it's still college offense. This is the NFL, and now it's just like, yeah, okay. Like, I'm in a place where if there's, like, Joe Burrow, I feel like is incredible, but like he's a tick below Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen for me because he just isn't going to hurt you the way those guys can on 3rd and 7.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like we're bringing the Veer offense to the NFL and trying to, do the wishbone and Bud Wilkinson and stuff. Like, those guys have their place in time, right? But it's the marriage of the run game and the pass game and the RPOs and just all that stuff that was, like you said, I think there was obviously the worry about quarterbacks getting hurt. I get that. And, when you build an NFL roster to fit a specific type of system, or at least a range of systems, and you try to do something else, it's going to take a while. So teams are resistant for a lot of reasons, but the talent pushes you in the direction. I think that's what's going to guide the league in most cases, but there's always guys who get left out.
Eric, last thing before you go, I have to indulge myself here. 3 words from your Twitter bio: Dale Murphy Scholar.
Yeah.
So he was my favorite as a kid. The best ball. Oh yeah. The best ball I ever hit in baseball, I thought I was Dale Murphy. It was just sort of like right-handed hitter one time. Well, not even 2. Once.
Right.
One time. I felt like I was Dale Murphy. So he was my favorite. He's been on the show, I think, once, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But how did you come to be a Dale Murphy scholar, as you put it?
I grew up in the Boston area. Don't hold it against me, boys. But,
Fine.
Yeah, I grew up in the area, and I was kind of the post-'86 World Series hangover. I'm that old. So, yeah, like watching baseball and being obsessed with the sport. I could watch Canadian Expos broadcast. I could watch WOR. I could watch the Mets. I hated the Mets. They just beat us. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start watching the Braves. And I thought, man, I did not appreciate this Dale Murphy guy enough on this last place Braves teams. And I always loved the guy. And he follows me on Twitter. I have no idea why, but it's, the 13-year-old version of me would have been blown away at that.
You put my name in your bio, I'll follow you. I mean, that's a sure thing.
That's a rule, I think.
Bulldog will be at Fenway tomorrow.
Okay, very nice, very cool. I was there last summer.
Very
Good.
cool.
Yeah, it's been more than 20 years since I've been.
It had been over 10 for me when I last went, so I don't get back enough.
Thank you for today, Eric. We'll talk again maybe during the season. Please.
All right.